Today I will be ranking every single match we have ever seen in Blue Lock, from if they're some of the best in the series to if there's some very skippable content. And keep in mind, my rankings are completely my opinion, so some may offend you. But if you wish to see more Blue Lock related content just like this, and some other content plans I have for the future, such as a hot takes video and a continuing part to my What If Isagi Went to Manshine City series, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and join my Blue Lock Discord for updates on my latest videos. Anyway, let's jump right into the content. My reaction image is not working. This is a great start to the recording session. Welcome everyone. This is me ranking every single goal in Blue Lock, as I said in the intro. So, I had to put some in, and for some reason I have 2 of these for the manshine, so ignore that. But yeah, this is my opinion on every single match in Blue Lock. So these 2 really don't count, but because they're not matches, but we'll discuss them anyway. This is all depending on my opinion. This is all surrounding how I feel about the match. This is not subjective at all. This is not up to your interpretation. This is all my opinion. Enjoy this video, and if you do enjoy this video, good, subscribe. If you don't enjoy this video, subscribe anyway. I have better content than this. Anyway, first up we have the 2 tag games, and honestly, I feel like this is some highlights. I feel like it puts forward the ideology, the mindset of egoism, and basically eliminates a very noteworthy character right off the bat, being Kira. We all thought that Kira would be the main rival to Isagi, but it turns out that he was just the filler slot for getting eliminated, surprisingly, over Ikaguri. As of recently, we could probably see where Ikaguri will be heading in comparison to Kira. The fact that Ikaguri is more successful than Kira continually is crazy. Anyway, this tag, skip. I don't really think it's important. We basically eliminate a very nothing character. Yeah, nothing really gets showcased because we already knew what Nagi and Ryo's capabilities were, and Zantetsu has way better capabilities shown off in the actual matches than in football tag, so that's where I'll put that. And these aren't even actual matches, so I'll rank them even lower for the sake of that. But this football tag, of course, established the story, so I should give it props. This one, some highlights. Realistically, I don't even think is that noteworthy. Like, a lot of the Team V matches are also not too noteworthy, but this one is only noteworthy due to the fact Team Z faced a challenge. They had to overcome it using their own initiative, using their own weapons, and their own weapons were Bachira's dribbling and passing, Isagi's spatial awareness, and Kunagami's shooting weapon. And that, for the first time, was a semblance of a chemical reaction being formed between the 3, which later added on through the use of more players, most commonly Chigiri. And then this match, nothing too noteworthy. I'm pretty sure it was Team Y, got demolished. So this barely mattered. This is where Isagi scored his first goal, and we learned more about his spatial awareness, so therefore, very solid. This, skip. Aside from showing off more skills between Nagi and Ryo, and also the crocodile aura the Wanama brothers have, this match, you don't have to watch it in order to understand anything. But you do have to watch it in order to understand how the betterment of each character progresses. Like, Zantetsu, I'm pretty sure in this match starts working with Ryo, so you could understand that it could be important. Anyway, Chigiri breaking out of his chains. This was immediately after Team W faced a loss against Team V, so this is kind of funny, because Bro had to reawaken and demolish those expectations, leading him to a very solid victory. This is some highlights. It's a good match, but I hate the betrayal angle. I think Kuon betraying Team Z serves as a subplot to make him seem more important and to make it seem more intense, or more tense in general, to make it seem like it was actually close. If Kuon never betrayed Team Z, it would still be close in my opinion, because Team W are just the thing in which Team Z have to realize it's good teamwork based on equality instead of one-sidedness. So like Nico and Okawa was Nico feeding Okawa the goals, whilst the Wanoa Bros were feeding each other the goals. And that only expanded when facing Team V because it was one player feeding two players the goals, and not to mention these two players were exceedingly better than all the other opposition. It was basically getting Team Z to realise further and further you go, the more main characters that will stand out, the more main enemies that will stand out, and the more difficult it will be to compete with them. Team Z only had a sense of protagonist feeling because we were focused on their perspective for so long, and so many of the characters did have more unique designs compared to a lot of the other basic characters. But yeah, this has some highlights, and I honestly think Team X versus Team V has some highlights as well. I believe tackling the rivalry between Burū and Nagi in this way actually got it started and explains why Nagi and Burū hold so much disdain for each other at first, especially after meeting in the second selection again. They sort of don't respect each other's ideologies. Baru's full effort, in which incorporates into his talent, whilst Nagi is full talent, in which does not show any semblance of any hard work to improve that talent. Basically, Burū sees Nagi as wasted potential, and Nagi sees Burū as a pain in the ass, which both of them see each other as a pain in the ass, but for different reasons. And I enjoyed this match. I enjoy seeing it, and seeing the gap between Nagi's talent and Baru's talent, in which progressively throughout the series, Burū starts being more heavily favoured, and even to the point where he is top 5 within the NEL. And then Team Z versus Team V. This was the match in which made me start really loving BLUELOCK, and especially loving Nagi. But I didn't really want to like Nagi all the way, considering the fact that he was just going to be an enemy character, and I didn't know if he was sticking around for longer. But he definitely seemed to have some sort of main character potential. Keep in mind, this was before I knew any sort of episode Nagi or episode Nagi movie content, and I didn't know anything about the future of the manga. I was watching the anime. I was strictly watching the anime at this point. This match is also series defining, because this is Team Z getting the final win that they need in order to advance to the next stage. This is Nagi realizing his own desire to win in matches instead of not caring. So this was the first step in Nagi actually liking football. And then it led to the catalyst of Nagi then wanting to team up with Isagi because of the way he played football comparatively to himself. So he is on a learning journey to learn from someone who isn't so talented, but is incredibly inspiring and hardworking. Then this match, nothing too noteworthy. It establishes Rin, but like to a lower scale. Rin is not fully established until their rematch, and this match was basically just a whitewash because there was only 2 goals to Rin's team's 5 goals, and the only important thing about this match was that Bachara was taken away from Isagi, which led to Nagi and Isagi teaming up. That was when I started loving Nagi so much more. Like, can you deny Nagi working with Isagi was probably one of the better times within BLUELOCK? It felt simple and it felt so effective. Oh, this was the 100 goals challenge, I just realized. 100 goals challenge we can skip. Yes, it improves Isagi's direct shot, but realistically, it was a very nothing thing. We knew that Isagi would succeed that. Excuse me for talking about the complete wrong thing. I know some of you may be writing out the comments and now having to completely backtrack because I just realized. Anyway, I appreciate Naruhai's backstory, but I don't think it's enough to be solid storytelling because realistically Naruhai gets eliminated, so therefore his importance is lesser. But I'm going to say it's like that. I'm reorganizing as I go. Isagi's highlight was devouring Burū. Nagi's highlight was Isagi didn't devour Burū. Isagi devoured Naruhaya to gain his off-the-ball movements and getting behind the opponent, blind spots. And then Nagi found his way on taking on the enemy one-on-one. So it was a highlight for those two. Burū really didn't change outside of his selfish antics, and Naruhaya had his backstory revealed and failed at trying to replicate Isagi's shooting weapon, which led to his ultimate loss as Isagi took that idea for himself, just applied it to his movement-based skill that he lacked, and won the game. So it has some highlights, not like series-defining or solid storytelling. This match ooh, it made me feel some sort of way. Isagi was definitely on some next level crack, like genuinely speaking. And then Baru's Awakening is just even sicker. This is solid storytelling. I would say like series defining, but the whole... This is my argument, right? This spawned a whole cluster of fans in which I do not agree with. The whole Slursugi thing is so fake. It was a manga translation made by fans, not official at all. He never said the R slur, and this spawned a really bad side of the community in which I want no involvement in. So it's not defining. In fact, I think it's lesser than that because of what it caused. However, Isagi going off on Baru is always something I love to see. I believe a very egotistical, maniacal, and overconfident Isagi is something we want to see more of, because I do love when arrogant characters can back up their shit. And Isagi did exactly that during this match, and then Baru showed up 10 times more in this match with that same attitude. And then Nagi and Isagi's chemical reaction, and Chiguru's awakening. These are all very solid overall aspects I can take away from this match to be like, wow, this was an amazing match. And I feel like it was adapted pretty well in the anime. This match was series defining. I don't care what people have to say. It was series defining because Bachira's whole awakening is what led to an easier time when facing against the U20 team. Then Isagi's understanding of luck was also what helped them win against the U20 team. It's just a lot of aspects, a lot of smaller aspects or specific aspects that go into the future of saving BLUELOCK. And I believe that's noteworthy enough in order to completely write down and talk about. And then this one, we have Shido and Igaguri versus Kunigami and Reo. It shows off Shido, but it's nothing really too noteworthy. I believe Kunigami getting eliminated was the only highlight. There's nothing too noteworthy because we do see Kunigami return, and also we do see him outside of this match actually going for the exit without ever seeing this match adapted into the anime. So therefore, I feel like the producers of the anime just didn't see this match as too noteworthy at all for them as well, so we just never saw it. Which led to what we have here, which is only manga exclusive content as we know. At the moment, at least. We don't know if it will be adapted, but right now it hasn't. Then we have, I'm pretty sure this is Nagi's team versus Haragi's team. So I'm going to say I like this match, but it's not like anything too special. It was definitely overcoming some barriers and some insecurities, some personal issues. And basically, Chiguri and Baru realizing how much of a prize Nagi is and needing to evolve themselves in order to keep up with him, in order to then serve him the opportunities in which he needed in order to score goals and therefore grow himself. So this was some development, but nothing too noteworthy in my opinion. That's just my opinion. As we all should know, by the intro I gave at this video. Anyway, this was Nagi's team versus Kyura's team, or better known as Karasu's team, because I feel like Karasu was the captain. The end of this match was kind of odd, like Nagi and Baru seeing a amalgamation of Isagi, Phantom Isagi as people know, and fighting against that instead of the opposing team, as if they're trying to get over their failures as both teammates and rivals in order to then somehow someday surpass him, which neither of them end up completely doing, which I find hilarious. Ever since the start, they were above him, like the first instance. But past that, Isagi just kept growing so rapidly because he started off from literally close to the bottom, and you can only really go up from there. And now he's near the top. There's some highlights in this match. I do like it. I do like it quite a bit. I think it's more interesting than most of these matches. I definitely say give a read through, but I feel like people got annoyed at this. It was kind of the similar mentality of Bastard versus PXG, because it felt too long for no reason. But whenever you read back on these chapters, you realize these are really good paced. It was just because of how long we had to wait. Like, in between break weeks for this one, and in between month-long waits for this one. I get it, it gets obnoxious. But they're really good matches if you want to read back on them and just really absorb the content. And also made for some incredible art and incredible new shooting weapons, especially. Himizu, rest in peace. You had one match glory here. And next up is the World 5 versus Isagi's team, or Rin's team rather. This shows off the world, like how good professional strikers are. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that Loki is literally the bar for a lot of Blue Lockers to reach, because he is an incredible athlete, he's an incredible footballer, and he was frankly unstoppable even to the likes of Rin, because Rin had literally no chance. But overall, I think it goes on top of nothing too noteworthy, because realistically, they just got demolished, and all they learned was that, oh wow, there's better people, which, duh. They're below the ages of 18 and need to realize that the professional standard is much higher than the standard they've been performing at. And then next up, we have the World 5 against Nagi's team, and also coinciding with that is Ryo's team versus Kurina's team, I believe. These were important matches, I would say. Both these matches coinciding together to go side by side and show Nagi and Ryo's separate growths was really nice. And also Chigri's little injury scare to show his strain from the previous match to go into the World 5 match. And I believe Nagi put up a decent battle against the World 5 players, but was just outperformed in every way in which he never really worked towards. He just relied on his natural talent, and that could only carry him so far, as we all know. And then Ryo had the first levels of using his chameleon style copy abilities, which is nice. It would have been nice foreshadowing if this was before it, but now it just kind of, makes it align a bit more of how he got his starting grounds to using his chameleon copy style in the eventual 5v5s in the third selection. My apologies. So I'm going to say that this has some highlights, because it's both matches combined, so therefore it's basically 2 matches in one, which is just a bit unfair. I'm going to say there. Actually, no, it's not as important as these, I don't think. We'll put it there. Next up, we have the 5-on-5 between Isagi's team, which was basically Rin and Shido's team, versus Karasu and Otoya's team. And this is where Isagi learned the value of reflexive movements, or movements without thinking. Basically, move and then think instead of think then move. Whatever way you want to put it, this match is great. It's series defining for the sake of the fact that he entered flow for the first time. I don't recall a proper instance before that where Isagi actually tapped into flow. Like, he may have had instances where he was in a trance, but this was his proper first glimpse into his flow state, and therefore his meta vision. And this is series defining because so many other characters would get into this state going forward, in which allows them to score victories or score mediocre wins above some opposition in order to get them the advantage throughout the match. Flow state is very important. Next up, we have the full development of the chameleon style that Ryo uses against the opposing team. And this is where he does team with Nagi again. I believe this was animated better, but I don't think this is as important by any means. It's less important because now we just know that he does the chameleon style. Like, now that we know he actually has the ability. This one is more important because it actually sets the grounds. This one is just important because he actually then utilizes it intentionally. And then, of course, U20 match. I believe this match is honestly among the best matches I've ever had the pleasure of reading through, because at the time I had no idea this was going on. I didn't read through any of the manga, so I basically just watched the first season of the anime, known that Kunigami got eliminated, so I knew nothing about Kunigami's return as well, and just went into this match reading the manga completely blind. Thankfully, I didn't have to watch season 2 of the anime, because I feel like that would have threw me off because of how poorly represented that is. So the manga, really, 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 really good. This match was a spectacle. It was absolute cinema, reading from the manga, and I highly recommend anyone who didn't read the manga for this match go back and actually read it instead of watching season 2. My personal opinion, at least. Then we have Kunigami. I say Kunigami. It's Bastard versus Butcher. This match is alright. It has some. It introduces Kaiser, so therefore it's automatically quite important. But so it introduces Kaiser. It establishes the Masters. It shows off Kunigami's new abilities, it shows off Bachira's new abilities, and Isagi's new way of evolving by looking into Kaiser's movements, make an idealized version of himself. to make Kaiser his new ideal in order to eventually reach and then compete on his level. That's why I believe it goes in some highlights. Manshine City versus Bastard, and this is one of my other favorite matches of all time. I believe it perfectly structures the downfall of Nagi's credibility, and it perfectly upscales Isagi's next evolution. I think this match narratively does make a lot of sense, and why people are at the current skill level that they are. Kaiser's still not being outperformed by any player aside from the Masters at this point. Yes, he's getting played against by Isagi, but he's also getting played against by a bunch of other players, realizing that he's a very big threat, and this showcases in the Ubers game as well. But yeah, the power scaling seems very clear here. It seems very clear cut. Yukimiya managed to score off of Isagi's own mercy, and Isagi unlocking Metavision, and of course the introduction of my favorite character in the entire series, Agi. So this match stands as one of my favorites. I wouldn't put it over the U20 match personally, but it stands as one of my favorites. And ignoring this, because this is basically the same thing, we have Bastard versus Ubers, not Manshine versus Ubers. This is solid storytelling. We got Hiyori's backstory, we got Snuffy's backstory, evolution of Metavision, lefty direct shot, Michael Kaiser's bicycle kick, we got Baru's stealth kill shot. Noah acknowledging that Snuffy's the best overall player in the world is huge as well. Not striker, should specify, overall player. It just means that he is better in every position Noah is, but Noah is specifically better as a striker compared to Snuffy, which is why Noah kind of sucked on defense while Snuffy was just outdoing him in every single way. Very solid match. I enjoyed this thoroughly, and I believe it deserved a lot of credibility, but I don't think it's anything like series defining in this instance. This match, reading back on it, it is series defining, simply because of the amount of content introduced. In this match, we get like the protagonist feeling introduced, but in this match, we get ego types, and ego types are so vital. I believe it would be match of the day, but in being honest, I don't enjoy it as thoroughly as some of these other matches, but it will go on top of series defining. Reading back through it, it's much better paced than you would think. It's much more easily consumable. You can get through it within like an hour, if being honest, and still appreciate it for how amazing it was. And it still is. It still is amazing, even when it's not continuing. And I believe a lot more things make sense when you read back through it to what results happened because of the events of this match, and you can really understand why certain players kind of let down their sides of the team. And also, a lot more Metavision unlocks in this match. We found out Charles has Metavision. We found out Karasu has access to Metavision. Yukimiya got access to Predator's Eye. Kaiser returned to 0. Isagi returned to 0. Rin returned to 0. We got Isagi's 2-gun stage fake volley, or 2-gun volley, or whatever you want to call it. We got Kaiser's Magnus goal, and also his Magnus fail. We also got like Ness's backstory into Kaiser's backstory. We also got part of Rin's backstory in a sort of similar instance. Just basically a lot happened in this match in which I think needs to be appreciated, which is why I believe it's series defining. And finally, we have Reo killing Nagi. What I really mean is Manshine versus Barcher. The predictions everyone had for this match, gosh, it really disappoints me, but at the same time makes so much sense, narratively speaking, that Manshine just didn't win. When everyone predicted that Nagi would score a hat-trick or Nagi would get his original bid back, I believe that he would get his original bid back. But the direction they're currently going down, I'm very intrigued of what they will do. But it feels like eliminations are less important. It feels like they're less impactful because Nagi and Igaguri are returning, and Kunigami had previously returned as well. So, I don't know. But looking back on this match, I was shocked. I was a bit devastated. Knowing that 2 of my favorite characters are going to be gone from the series for a little bit was like a bit of shock for me. But that's not even true, because I get to see Agi in the U20 World Cup in the tables bracket, and I get to see Nagi continuously because his journey of coming to terms of what, gives him fire, what gives him motivation is cool. And we get to see him interact with Ikiguri, which I feel like is a Kaneshiro dream, because he has admitted those 2 are his favorite characters.
So I feel like he wanted this to happen. This is series defining for the fact that it does eliminate Nagi. It does separate Ryo from Nagi's individuality in a sense. Ryo's become a much better player through this experience. And yeah, just overall, the result is much more impactful than the match itself. And it's a good match, all things considered. I think it was very rushed, but I believe they wanted to get to chapter 300 in order to establish that new arc. So I can look past that for the sake of, you know, having the fancy number in order to compensate for the change of arc. So I don't mind it too much. But I like this match. And yeah, that has been my tier list of my favorite matches. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, and I will not give a shit if you do or not. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me for this video, and leave your comments down below. What is your favorite match, or what is your top 3 favorite matches? I would read through them and appreciate your match choices for their merits. And if you pick this football tag, I'm sorry to say I'm going to have to remove your comment. Wink, wink. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this video, and I have some big plans for future videos coming out next week and the weeks following. Part 4 of Isagi Manshine is definitely coming soon, so just wait patiently. I'm not going to say when, but it's coming out soon, so wait patiently. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me, and until next time, peace.